All right, making unicorns. Love making unicorns, are so cute and so popular. First up, I'm just adding some Tylos to my fondant. This just means that it's going to dry a little bit quicker. I feel safer knowing that it's going to dry a little bit faster and know that it's going to be dry in time for using it on a cake. You don't have to do this. If you're making this a few weeks in advance, then fab. You don't need to add your Tylos. But if you're going to be using this, for example, the same week and putting it on a cake, it really, really does help to make sure that it is dry, ready for the Friday or the Saturday when your cake is going out. So you can see I'm kneading my fondant here. You have to do that anyway, so just adding a bit of Tylos doesn't add anything more to your time, really. Really important to knead your fondant well. This is going to help you to get a nice smooth finish when you're rolling out your fondant or making certain shapes. You're not going to get so many of those cracks and creases in there. Much easier to get a smooth surface. All right, so here I'm just starting to make the body. You can, of course, make this as large or as small as you like. If you want to go really large, I would advise adding a polystyrene center, just so that it reduces the weight a little bit, because when you start sitting them on a cake, they can become quite heavy. As you can see, I'm just starting to make a little bit of a cone-ish shape to make the body. So it's just slightly thinner at the top than the bottom. If you want a nice chubby unicorn, you could kind of go more round, or you can go a bit taller. It's up to you with what kind of style of unicorn you want. I've gone for something in between here. And next up, we're going to need his or her legs, and I find it helpful just to put it on a little piece of parchment paper, greaseproof paper, just for when you want to move it around. You know it's not going to stick to your bench top. So I'm starting to get equal sizes of fondant there that I'm going to roll into legs. This unicorn will be sitting down. Adding some water to the outside of my body, which of course helps the fondant to stick and stay. Now I put this on and added my little flat feet there, and then decided, nope, they're too small. So I actually pulled them off fairly quickly and decided to go a little bit bigger. That just happens. Sometimes I decide to go smaller, sometimes a bit bigger. I just felt like that wasn't in proportion with the body, so I've gone larger, and I feel like that looks a lot better. Here I'm just making the foot by using a flat, your flat thumb to push into the fondant just to create a bit of a circle. You can do it before you put the leg on or when you put the leg on. It doesn't make too much difference. Next up, I'm going to need the legs that go at the front of his body. I'm saying he, but I don't actually know if it's a boy or a girl. Anyway, probably a girl. A little bit of water down the front. And then you're just rolling into that sort of almost cone shape again. Flattening off. And then you just need to make sure they're, close enough to being the same size. Yep, pretty happy with that. I think that looks pretty good. Now this next step you don't have to do. For example, if you know the birthday girl or boy wants to eat their fondant decoration, then obviously we're not going to add a stick in there. But I just find it's a lot easier to make sure that the head stays on, just having that little bit of support. I have seen people use things like spaghetti as well instead of a stick, which of course is edible. I mean, you wouldn't really want to sit and eat a piece of dry spaghetti, but at least we know it is actually edible. So that could be an option as well. I've never really tried it myself. I've used it to attach little arms and things, but not tried it for heads. But I mean, it could be an alternative if you're worried about the head falling off. Otherwise, just put a bit of water, attach your head as normal, and just give it a good amount of time to dry to make sure the head obviously doesn't fall off when you're moving the cake around. So you can see the shape here. It's not round as such, it's more like an oval shape, and I've tried to taper it or have a little bit of a point at the front. Adding your ball tool to add your eyes in. If you don't have one of these little smile, I don't know what they're called, tools, then you can just use a sharp knife or a sharp blade, which as you can see here, I'm using just to add a little bit of a sort of a dimple on the top and the bottom, just because it's cute, I think. All right, next up we're going to need a horn. I've gone for the most simple kind of horn, but you can make a horn by rolling out the fondant into a really thin little sausage and rolling it into a spiral to make a really cute little horn. I've just gone for a really simple one here. Literally just a cone shape and adding that on. And once it's painted, it looks really super cute. Now we're going to add some extra detail to our unicorn. Here I'm using a range of colours. I'm rolling them into that sort of shape there and then just curling them to make some really sweet little sort of tufts of hair or sections of hair. Looks a bit odd when you only have one, but once you've got lots on there, I promise it looks really sweet. So just rolling it and then curling it into a spiral shape. Which is of course attached using water. You can use edible glue if you have it. I just use water because I always have it. And try to use different lengths here so that you can get a bit of a variation. I didn't like that one there, so I'm going for the one-sided look, so it's kind of going over to the right side of the unicorn. Adding in a second colour here. I've gone for sort of a peachy orange, a purple. Pastel colours obviously really look nice with unicorns. And just add some extra water where you need to attach new pieces if you're going on top. Now I've just sped this up now because it's the same process over and over and over and over and over again until you have as much hair as you would like to have on your unicorn. I've just added some little ears here. So I've made a ball, pinched it together, and then flattened out the bottom. It's a really easy way to make ears. And again, once they're painted, you're going to get that extra little detail in there. Adding another colour here, I'm just adding some pink. And you could of course do a really long mane going down the side. I've opted for a shorter one here, but you could go all out on this and make it as extravagant as you like. And of course you could add a tail using the same method to come around the opposite side, just to sort of balance it out, which would also look beautiful. Right, 2 little black balls to add into the eyes there. And I've gone for quite big eyes. I let this dry for a little bit. I actually left this one overnight so that I can paint on it and know that it's not really gonna, the colours are not really gonna bleed or anything because it's fairly dry. The outside of it is dry, the inside wouldn't be dry yet, or I very much doubt it, but those little features on the outside would be fairly dry. So I'm using an edible paint, which here I had forgotten to shake the bottle, which is why it didn't come out very well. So when you use your edible paints, give them a really good shake before you use them, and then you're going to get a really nice thick layer of paint. There we go, that's better. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it impossible to make both sides perfect. It's like when you do makeup and try to do winged eyeliner. It's actually impossible to do evenly, I think. But anyway, by using a double lash there, you can kind of even out any mistakes you may have made. And then you need a different brush, because even if you wash it, I find there's always a bit of a black residue. So I actually have a second brush here that I'm just adding a white dot, which just adds a little bit of extra detail on your unicorn. You could use fondant for that, and you could use fondant for your eyelashes too. I just use black paint because I find it quicker, but either looks lovely. The other thing that you can do, which I actually forgot to do on this one, is to add a little bit of pink blush on the cheeks for another really sweet little effect on your unicorn. Definitely a girl, I would say. Here I'm using edible gold paint to add some gold on the inside of the ears to paint the horn, and also of course the little hooves there at the bottom, because I just think that looks really sweet. You don't have to do that, of course. You can make this unicorn however you like. I just really like that little gold accent around the feet, around the hooves. Personal preference, I guess. Once you've done, you need to leave this to dry for a few hours, otherwise the paint will move if you touch it, and will come off. So give it a couple of hours at least to dry before you use it. If, like me, you're painting this unicorn after only one day of letting it dry, I would recommend putting it back in a nice dry warm spot just to let it completely firm up right the way through the center of your fondant topper. There she is. How cute. Add this with your little rainbows that you can make from the other tutorial, and you've got a really nice topper set to add to your cakes, or you know, your unicorn on your cake and your mini toppers on cupcakes, you know, whatever you want to do. As always, thank you so much for purchasing my tutorial, and yes, hopefully I will see you again soon.